dropping hundreds of dollars on beers and not leaving a single cent for a tip? For Aussies, that's just a Saturday night, but in the US, it's sending bartenders into a complete meltdown. As an estimated 1.2 million soccer fans flood the US for the World Cup, local venue staff are discovering that international visitors didn't get the memo about America's tipping culture. The beer is flowing, but the tips are coming up short. One New York waitress revealed large groups are racking up tabs of almost $700 and leaving absolutely nothing. International fans are genuinely so baffled by the American ritual of calculating tips that venues are being forced to change how they operate. And no, they aren't finally paying their workers a proper wage, they're just slapping an automatic 20% fee straight onto the bill.
Just pay your staff! Just pay your staff! We won't be tipping for beers at the half!
Venue staff say they're learning to roll with it, but their advice to tourists? Embrace the local customs if you want to have a better time. Is the American tipping system completely broken, or should tourists just cop the extra fee?
Clearly, the tipping culture is out of control. Now they're not actually expecting you to tip, they're actually expecting you to eat their food and also pay the living wage to their employees, which is very absurd.
I am going to defend Americans, because I think if I was talking about any other country and their culture, and I said, oh, I'm going on holiday there, and as a top tip, all the travel guides have been telling me that it's a big part of their culture there, that when you get served by someone, as a part of their culture, you actually pay them a bit of money on top. You give them a tip to say, like, thank you for your service, like, thank you for serving me, and it encourages them to, like, go the extra mile to serve you, but that's also actually baked into their wages, so they get paid really low wages, so it's really important to you that you do have to tip. And I think if that was any other cultural difference, people would be like, oh wow, like, I do need to make sure I respect that. But because it's American, people are just like, well, they should pay their wages more. Which is like, yes, they should pay their wages more, obviously, but you being tight and refusing to tip them isn't paying them more, you're just kind of being a bastard.
I wouldn't go around calling people bastards just because they don't want to tip. The problem that people have is that right now you are forcing it, and when people don't tip, you get upset and you give them an attitude. Cause waitress, these are people who are employed. A lot of people have jobs even if they're not waitresses, but we don't get tipped just because we're doing our work. We get paid a salary. Whether it's enough or not enough, no one cares about that. That's the thing. We understand that in terms of their job is to serve, but as long as you're employed, you are serving your employer one way or another. So we want it to be reasonable and not really solely enforced, and people have to be forced, and if they don't do it, suddenly there's something wrong with that.
Hello.
Ignore. You keep that.
Why?
Because I didn't see a tip on the app, and I put a little card in there. So please keep that. I'm sorry.
No, I just had cash. Please take
It's okay.
it.
It's okay, because... It's okay. Thank you.
Have a good night.
If you've never worked as a waitress, you really don't understand tipping. You don't have to agree with every tip screen. I mean, I surely don't. But there's a saying in the service industry: if you've never worn an apron, you don't know what it's even like. And that is so true, because most people don't realize waiters and waitresses are not even making minimum wage. They're working off a system where tips aren't extra, they are essential. They are what actually make the job worth it. They're how they pay their rent, their groceries, and just survive. I used to be a waitress when I was modeling and acting in New York City. I was just trying to get by and make it. And I can tell you firsthand, it's not just carrying plates. It's long hours on your feet, constant pressure, emotional labor, and still showing up with a smile no matter what your day looks like. So when I see the disrespect towards servers, it really hits differently, because I've been on the other side of it. I know what it feels like to be ignored, to be talked down to be treated like you're invisible. And I always think, if the roles were reversed, would people still feel the same way? Probably not. Because once you've lived it, you understand it. Tips aren't about entitlement, they're about survival. And respect should never depend on whether someone is serving you or sitting across the table from you. The amount you tip is at your discretion. Clearly, we all understand that. But how you treat the people serving you says far more about your character than it does about your wallet. Because you don't have to have worked in the service industry to be kind, but it sure helps you understand why it matters.
I think she's barking on the wrong tree. Like, why are these people actually fighting with people who are actually coming to buy and to support, so that the store or restaurant, wherever where they work on, so that they can always have a job? Why not go fight your employer so that they pay you minimum wage? Why are you paying your bills using tip? I think this is where something is wrong, is that you are fighting the people who are actually helping to support the store so that the store or restaurant can remain afloat. I've worked on retail. Yes, I do know how people treat you, but at the same time, it doesn't help me to complain about people who are coming in, whether to eat the food. You need to complain to the employer. I think that's the first thing that needs to be fixed. That's the problem that people have, not that there's tips, but in terms of how they are enforced, that these people are actually forced to actually survive on tips.
So good job, tourists coming to New York City. You've pissed off the bars and the restaurants, and frankly, I love it myself. So here in the United States, where the tip culture has gotten so out of hand that even self-service at supermarkets now include a tip option, I kid you not, that is really a thing now. The tourists that have come to New York City from other countries where they don't have a tip culture are not leaving tips at the bars. And because of the way the system works here in the US, the fact that studio apartments in New York City can run you between $2,500 and $3,500 a month US, which by Euro standards would be about $2,200 to about $3,100 a month for a studio, by the way, not even a first one bedroom. The wait staff is paid below minimum wage because it is legal. All of you out there probably know this. All of you mock that. I'm not blaming you on the slightest. On my side, I have that reverse counterculture thing where I go to places like England, France, Japan, and I don't have to pay it. And by the way, I want to point out additionally, a lot of times your tax is built in. So if the bill says 15 euros, it's 15 euros, not 15 plus tax. So that's something that's a little bit of an adjustment. Props to you guys for that. But what's happening now is that a lot of the restaurants and the bars are adding a mandatory 20% gratuity to offset for the lack of tips. So that $30 burger and fries that you got, which actually sincerely is actually how much it's running in a lot of places in Manhattan, not even like the upscale places, just the average places, that $30 burger and fries is now going to run you about $36. That $15 beer is going to run you probably 18, 19, however the math works out. So the good news for you is you don't have to sit there and figure out the tip calculator. You don't need one. They're doing it for you. And yeah, it's just going to get more expensive. Let me know your thoughts.
I don't understand American tipping culture, so I'm currently in my hotel room here in Boston and I just ordered room service, something that I do in many hotels around the world, and I never saw a hotel charging a delivery fee to deliver it to your room. I'm gonna tell you what's the delivery fee in a second, but then there is a note underneath it saying that the delivery fee is not a tip and tip has to be paid extra on top. So I'm wondering, if the delivery fee is not a tip for the person who is delivering it, who is the delivery fee going to? Like the delivery fee, why is that not going to the person who delivers it to my room? And also, I never saw a delivery fee charged in any hotel around the world I have stayed at when I ordered room service there. So the delivery fee was $6. So I'm paying $6 so that the food is delivered from downstairs to my room here on the 11th floor.
Talking about delivery fee, I recently ordered food on Uber Eats. The absurd charges, wow, like I was shocked. Like there's delivery fee I definitely understand, because there's petrol that needs to be used, your gas that needs to be used to come to my place. Then there's also service fee. What service fee am I paying? Because Uber is not doing any sort of service, yes, we are using the app, and the service fee is always a lot. Because me just using the app, if you don't know, Uber is making money from that. You don't need to actually pay Uber for Uber to be able to make money. And on top of that, the foods on Uber Eats are usually more than when you actually go to the restaurant, so you always pay more. So you're paying more for the actual food, then you're paying delivery fee, and you're actually paying the service fee. So all in all, you are paying so much, then someone is gonna come and ask for a tip. Hey man, I don't have money, I've already paid too much.
To have a job pays you $5 an hour. You chose that, and it's the restaurant's job to pay you a living wage, not our job to pay you a living wage. I'm gonna silence you real quick, because you know what happens when the restaurant decides to pay us a living wage? The cost of your food's gonna go up, the cost of your drinks are gonna go up, okay? Because they need to find that money somewhere. They're not just pulling that money to pay us out of their asses. No. They're still getting it from you. It's just coming a different way. All right? Glad that's settled. Second topic of action. Still want to get good service when you come in, right? Try not fucking tipping. Okay? You don't tip, you don't get good service. Period. You take away tipping culture. You think your service is going to be good? Have you guys been to Europe? Because they treat you like garbage. You want to know why they treat you like garbage? Because they can. Because they get paid a living wage. They're not living off of tips. So they're not kissing your ass. If you're being a Karen, they're going to tell you you're being a Karen. Because they don't give a shit. They've got a paycheck. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Servers and bartenders, we make good money. I wouldn't be in the industry if we didn't make good money. But understand how the industry works before you yap about it. Because you sound like idiots. Thank you.
My sister, you don't need to be an asshole just because you are paid enough. People have jobs outside of tipping or outside of restaurant. Being a good person and treating people well and giving people good service, it's all about being a human being. If you're doing a job that you love, especially if they are paying you well, it means that in my head you're supposed to do that job well. You know why a lot of you guys who work on the other side, why people are always upset, is because you're not being paid enough. So in terms of, if we take your logic, you're saying that you rather be paid in tips, where some month you don't even know whether you're gonna get enough tips to pay rent, instead of actually being paid enough by your employer, where you know that every month you have a stable salary. To me, that's backwards thinking, man. Like, that's really backwards thinking. We're here trying to talk for you so that maybe one day things will change, but it seems like if we have people like her who work on the other side who are talking like this, these things are going to remain the same.
So let's talk about this right here, because this was posted in a tip wage workers Facebook group, and I think it's time that we as a country talk about this. So it says, "Dear guests, your server is not a volunteer. They don't work for free. We don't serve for free. So let's do some math. If your bill is $100, their pay is $2.13, which is tip wage workers minimum wage, plus the $20 tip. So your total should be $122.13. And the part at the bottom that gets me every single time is they say, if you can't afford a tip, you can't afford to dine out. And I made a Facebook post responding to this saying that, can we stop saying if you can't afford a tip, you can't afford to dine, and start saying if a restaurant can't pay its employees a livable wage without depending on the generosity of customers, then they can't afford to own a business. Because I don't understand how billion-dollar companies tricked tip wage workers into believing that the customers are the problem for not wanting to pay extra on top of the bill we already paid, and not the billion-dollar companies that should be paying their employees a livable wage. It's only in America we got to deal with BS like this, because I've been to 3 different countries that have the same restaurants they have in America, and I didn't have to tip at any of them because they don't do tips. Tipping fatigue is already a thing, and y'all getting mad at the customers for not wanting to pay your wage instead of the billion-dollar company you work for is crazy. Also, I don't care how hard y'all stare at me when I'm tapping this keypad, I am not tipping on to-go orders.
Yeah, so this message is for the Europeans that are all coming here for the World Cup. Tip. I don't fucking care if you don't agree with it. I don't care if you don't understand it. Don't subscribe. I don't care. This is our culture. Right or wrong or otherwise, it doesn't matter. That is our culture and how our service workers, food and beverage, make money. Flat out. When we travel, we need to have the courtesy of understanding other countries' cultures as well. So if you're coming here and you're eating out
and you're going to bars and you're having a great time, tip your service workers. And you don't have to tip everywhere. You don't have to tip at every iPad that's turned around towards you. I get it. But if you eat out, you go to bars, tip your wait staff and your bartenders. We don't give a fuck how you feel about the tipping culture. This is where we're at. This is how they make money, and they are working their asses off, especially coming off of the finals and into the World Cup. Bars are slammed, and these people are working their asses off. So tip your service workers.
We stand corrected every time that we watch these videos. Yes, we understand tipping culture. The problem is that you guys are forcing these people. You don't want to fight your employers. That's the thing that we're not getting. Like, you keep fighting. You're fighting with the wrong people. You're barking at the wrong tree, man.
Pay your staff like a better wage.
What I find weird is that I'll just get a bottle of water from someone and they're trying to get a tip for doing nothing.
We went out the other night and had a few drinks, and they were expecting a tip after every drink, so it's like it can get expensive very quick.
In Japan, there's no tipping. I think the price without the tipping is already expensive. So with the tipping, I think it's way too much.
You see a price and then you got the tax, then you got the tip, so everything is more than you think.
It should be on the business, not the customer, to be kind of making sure your staff are well paid.
So we pool all the tips in the restaurant. So we share the tips amongst everybody on the team that goes into making the experience great.
This is a wide-ranging discussion, what servers make. In California, we have a very high minimum wage.
In some states, it's $2.13 an hour is their base wage. So if they don't receive any tips, it's impossible to survive. Until we have more consumer education, government policy that supports us being able to create new wage models within our industry, it just feels like swimming upstream a little bit.
Rising prices at Five Guys making some customers lose their appetites. One tweet going viral calling the cost of a meal out of control, along with this receipt apparently showing a $22 price tag for a bacon cheeseburger, regular soda, and little fry.
This is a fast food restaurant. Why is a burger $12.50?
But Five Guys is not alone. The price of eating at restaurants rising higher than the rate of inflation in the last 12 months.
Eating away from home is about 30% more expensive than it was in 2019. But now a lot of these restaurants realize they really just can't raise prices anymore. I think customers are at a breaking point.
The Wall Street Journal reporting more than half of small business owners, like restaurateurs, said higher labor costs are their biggest source of inflation.
So the big chains have a little more wiggle room and leeway, but these small independent restaurants, those are the people who had to get really creative. They're shuffling their menu items. They're taking things off the menu that maybe have high input costs. And when you talk to them, they tell you that it's not actually what's on the plate that costs them so much. The beef was at record highs late last year, but it's coming down a little bit. But it's the labor, it's the rent, it's the packaging. Some of these small business owners have told me that the packaging has doubled and tripled. And so their input costs are still real high in the past 2 or 3 years.
Like, my mind is blown. Did I just hear right that in terms of the minimum wage is around $2? Like, one thing that you should know, these employees, the ones that work at the restaurants, most of them, they don't work 8 hours like us, so they're not getting paid for 40 hours. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do with $2 per hour, man? Like, I understand why these people cry for tips. I think they need to be earning more than that, definitely. Like, you can't live in terms of that one. You're actually slaving away, man. And the nerve of these employers to actually come and complain that we have what. It's the cost of doing business. You have to spend money in order to make money. Your people who you have employed shouldn't suffer like this, man.
The culture of going out to eat in America is getting absolutely destroyed. You used to be able to go out to eat, get a drink, get an appetizer, get a meal, maybe get a dessert, $22. Those days are dead. I live in LA. My restaurant's in Los Angeles. If you want to go out to eat with a friend and grab lunch, you're spending $60, maybe $70. You throw a mocktail, cocktail in there, you're at $100. You're already done. You have families of 4, families of 5 that want to go out to eat, and the minimum they spend is $150, $160 to feed their family of 4. Service is down. Portions are down. Quality is down. Everything is down. Prices are up. People are aggravated. People are sick of it, and I understand that. McDonald's, Denny's, IHOP, your go-to fast casual QSR spaces that were great for budget-friendly meals are smoked. You're spending $40 at Denny's now. I want nothing more than reduce my prices, but I can't when my trash goes up $500 in a year, my property taxes, my unsecured property taxes, the POS system fees go up, vendor prices go up, food prices go up, they're charging me for gas now, like, it's getting bonkers. I went to dinner the other night, and they served me like 3 ounces of pasta for $54. I said, are you guys out of your mind? You don't even make the pasta here. Like, you're buying the pasta fresh and making it, and it's tomato sauce, you're charging $54. DoorDash, Uber Eats, don't even get me started on DoorDash and Uber Eats. That's a scam in itself. I don't know. In my restaurant, we keep the portions big, the quality extremely high. We try our best, we do our best, but you know, we have to bend to the world around us, essentially.
$150? Eating out is getting way too expensive. Cass and I went to a restaurant the other day. We got an entree apiece, an appetizer that we shared, in one glass of wine. It was $150 with tip. I don't know about you guys. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree. I'm sick of the food tasting like it's microwaved, and I'm also sick of bad drinks. You know how many times I've gotten a bad drink that I'm like, you know, I'm just going to eat this. The food quality's not good, the service is trash, and the drinks aren't good, but I'm still paying top-notch prices. I remember back in my day, when you went out to eat and you ordered a $25 plate of food, it was worth $25. I feel like just American dining is just dying.
The whole restaurant thing, in terms of the system is broken. Everything needs to get revised, because in terms of the cost of business, there's something that we need to think. When you check way back many years ago, so maybe in the 1990s or even before, it's not like restaurants didn't exist. Restaurants existed, and restaurants were actually thriving and actually paying their employees well, and people didn't need to survive on tips. So why the sudden change right now is because we are seeing a lot of greedy bastards who are actually opening businesses instead of actually paying their people minimum wage. They rather see their people slave away and actually survive on tips. I think that needs to be changed in terms of this whole tipping culture. That's my take, and hopefully that we do see a change in the next coming years or in the next coming year, so that people can actually survive and actually thrive just like everybody else. Yeah, I think that's it in terms of the whole tipping culture. That's what I wanted to cover, and I'll see you same time, same place.